One of my favorite ways to decorate for summertime is with patriotic decor, and in today's video I have some awesome patriotic DIY projects to share with you. Welcome to my channel Creatively Expressive. My name is Amy, and on my channel I share DIYs, thrift flips, budget decor, and all things creative. If you're new here, I would love it if you would become a part of my creative family by clicking that subscribe button below my video. Now without any further ado, let's get into project number 1. For this project, I'm using this blank wood sign that I found at Goodwill for $3.49. And you can find something similar to this at Walmart. The sign has these diagonal wood slats, and I am going to tape off a section of them at the top left corner. Then I'm going to paint that taped off section with the color 2 Blue. I want this sign to look distressed, so I'm using a chip brush to paint, and I'm making sure to leave some of the original sign peeking through that blue color. I'm going to let the blue paint dry, and then I'm going to tape off the next wood slat, and I am going to paint that section with crimson red chalk paint. And then I will continue painting every other wood slat on the sign with that red color. When I have all my red stripes painted, I will paint the remaining slats on the sign with white chalk paint. Then I went into my Silhouette Design Studio and I made myself a stencil with stars on it to fit over the blue area on the sign. The wood slats on this sign are uneven, so after I apply the stencil, I'm going to cut it with an X-Acto knife along the edge of each of the slats so that I can get each piece to lie flat on the sign. Now I'm going to paint the stars with white chalk paint and a small chip brush. And I am painting the stars the same way I did the sign, leaving some of that base color exposed to make the stars look distressed. When I was peeling up the stencil, it peeled away some of the blue paint, making it look even more distressed. So then I decided to try to do the same thing with the stripes. I am taking a piece of transfer tape and I rub it over each of the stripes and try to peel away some more of that paint. And this worked out just the way I hoped it would. Now I'm going to take a piece of vintage looking scrapbook paper from this book that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I am going to print the U.S. Constitution preamble on it. I cut the scrapbook paper down, and then to make the paper look aged, I am going to burn the edges with a lighter. And I remember my mom doing this with everything when I was a kid. I think this was a big crafting thing in the 80s and the 90s, or maybe it was just my mom. Let me know if you remember this being popular in the 80s and 90s. So anyways, I decided to pour some water into a shallow pan just in case I needed to drop this in the water. I didn't, but just be careful when doing this and have some water close by. I have this gold piece of scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to cut a rectangular piece from it. I also have this corrugated paper from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to cut a rectangular piece of that slightly larger than the gold paper. Now I'm going to hot glue the 3 papers onto the sign, centering each one on top of each other. And once I have glued all the papers down, this project is complete. Now for project number 2. For this project, I'm going to be using this giant tag that I found at Goodwill for $4.49. I took the tag outside and I sanded the picture off. I am marking a section at the top of the sign, and then I'm going to use painter's tape to tape that section off. Then I will paint that section with the color 2 blue. When the blue section is dry, I will remove the tape and replace it right along the edge of the painted blue area. Then, to make sure the next color doesn't bleed into the blue section, I am going to paint right along the edge of the tape with blue paint. This way, if I do get any bleed through, it will be that blue color which matches the top section. And once the blue along the edge of the tape is dried, it will seal in the tape, preventing the next color from bleeding under the tape. Now I will paint the entire bottom section of the tag with white chalk paint. Then I went to Etsy and I found this Fallen Soldier tribute cut file and I cut it out on Stencil Vinyl. I apply the stencil to the bottom center of the tag. Then I am going to use craft sponges to sponge paint black chalk paint over the stencil. And when I am done, I will peel away the stencil. Now I'm going to use painter's tape to tape off stripes in the white area. Then, to get a distressed look, I am going to use a craft sponge to paint with red paint over the taped off stripes, making sure not to paint over the Fallen Soldier tribute. Then, to fill in a little more of the red stripes, I am going to dry brush over the stripes with red paint. And when I am happy with the coverage, I will peel up the tape. Then I went into my Silhouette Design Studio and I designed this stencil to fit over the top section of the tag and I cut it out on Stencil Vinyl. I apply the stencil to the tag. And then I will sponge paint over the stencil with white chalk paint. Then I will peel away the stencil. Now I am going to take this washer piece that was on the original tag and glue it back onto the tag with Starbond Superglue. Now, to add more distressing to the tag, I am going to use the colors Coffee Bean and Cafe Noir. I am dipping the craft sponge into both colors and sponging the colors over the edges of the tag to dirty it up and make it look more distressed. Then, for the final step, I will tie the rope back onto the tag and this project is complete. Now for project number 3. For this project, I am using this chalkboard sign that I found at Goodwill for $3.49. Both sections of this sign are removable, so I am going to remove them to make making over this sign easier. I cleaned up the sign, and then I am going to repaint the chalkboard part with black chalk paint. Then I will paint the main part of the sign with white chalk paint. Then I went into my Silhouette Design Studio and designed this stencil for the chalkboard and cut it out on Stencil Vinyl. I applied the stencil to the chalkboard, and then I am going to sponge paint over the entire thing with white chalk paint. I wanted the wording to be red, white, and blue, so now that the white paint is dry, I'm going to use a small chip brush to dab some red paint over some of the wording and some of the stars on the sign. Now I'm taking the color Blue Kazoo, and I will dab that color over the remaining stars and the words United States. With all of the white paint covering the stencil, it was a little hard to see, so as you can see, I missed some spots in the red areas. No worries though, I will just take a fine detailed paintbrush and fill in the areas that I missed with some more red paint. Now I'm going to print out a flag image on a piece of white cardstock. I went on Etsy and I found this watercolor flag image and printed it to fit on the rectangular piece that was in the top section of the sign. My image is just slightly larger than the rectangular piece, so I traced that piece over the image and then I cut it out. Before putting the pieces of the sign back together, I'm going to sand the edges of the main part of the sign just to add a bit of distressing. Now I just need to put all the pieces of the sign back together and this project is complete. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Please let me know what your favorite project was in the comment section below. I would like to thank you for watching and supporting my channel. If you enjoyed today's video and want to help me grow my channel, please subscribe if you haven't already, give me a thumbs up, leave me a quick comment, and share this video with anyone that you think might enjoy it. I would also like to say thank you to anyone who has served our country or has a family member who has served. I truly appreciate your service and sacrifices. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!